I'd been working as an advertising producer for 8 years. Life had become boring. Every day was just another commercial. Then one day a memo came down from upstairs. They wanted a producer for a wildlife program. That's for me, I thought. I rushed in to see the boss.
Come in.
Got a minute, Chief?
I suppose so. What is it now?
Could I talk him into letting me do the show?
Somebody to do that Australian wildlife program?
Certainly are. Do you know someone?
Yes, Chief. Me!
You?
Yes.
You know nothing about that. We need someone who knows everything. Everything about Australian wildlife.
Remember my friend Beat?
Beats.
Look, don't worry about it, Chief. I'm going to make you a program that'll get magic ratings.
Yes, I bet. But I suppose I've got nothing to lose. On the other hand, Art, you have.
Look, Chief, you won't regret this. Believe me, you will not regret it. It'll be a great program.
I hope so. You've got 6 months, Art.
Chief, how can I thank you?
Make that 3 months.
Right, Chief.
And the boss has asked me to write and produce a wildlife program. Wildlife? He doesn't know anything about wildlife. What's he going to write about? Yeah.
I've got a clue what I'm going to write about.
So with a bit of research, I'm sure you and I will have a hit. See you in a week. You and I. Jake, do you get the feeling we've just become assistant TV producers?
City far behind. We're gonna breathe the air and touch the trees, living easy, moving free. We're beating round the bush, beating around the bush, you and me, beating around the bush. We wanna be beating around the bush, beats it all, beating. Yeah, we're beating round the bush.
Kids, asked you to come over and help me wash the car.
Oh, okay. You never guess what happened.
Shocked me.
Dad chopped that old copper tree down.
Don't tell me. It fell on Mum's VW and squashed it, right?
Oh. The tree broke into bits and look what fell out.
Cardboard box.
You're crazy.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, it's only a green tree snake.
Dad said to bring it to you.
I bet he did.
Is it dead?
No, it's only hibernating, I think.
How can you tell?
Oh, I saw a lot of them when I was up the bush with Beat.
Hey, Art, come and have a look at this.
I remember one day just before a big
Green tree
thunderstorm.
snake. It was dead. No, it could have been hibernating. If it was, it'd be like trying to get you out of bed in the mornings.
Now.
Yeah, these are totally harmless. They're a beautiful reptile. Really nice snake.
That's nice to know.
So let's have a look at this fella. Yeah, as I said, they're totally harmless. They haven't got any of these front fangs, poisonous fangs.
So you've got nothing with venom?
No, nothing with venom. But they have got very, very short, solid teeth in their mouth. And they mainly use them, their main food is frogs. They love eating frogs.
Right.
They grab hold of the frog with these short, solid teeth and often swallow the frog while it's still alive, still half alive.
Kermit wouldn't be happy about that.
Kermit would hate it. And by the time it reaches the stomach down here, the poor old frog's gone through what's virtually an acid bath of digestive juices inside the snake. Now, they're called a tree snake, but you don't always have to find them in trees. We've just discovered this fellow laying here. We've been lucky. He's very, very quiet because it's so cold. So if it was a hot day, he'd be very active and up the tree. And if we have a look at his big scales on his stomach, his ventral scales, they are really handy for him. Those big flat plates there, when he's moving around up and down the tree. You can see how docile this old fellow is sitting here. Now, if he was to get stirred up or worried, in between his skin he'd puff up a little, and you'd see it's that bright aqua type green or blue in between his scales there.
Yep.
And he'd spread his throat out a little bit and show us this and try and scare us off. Another thing they have is they often put out a strong odour, like a fear smell, in the hope that, well, it's in the hope that whatever's attacking them will be driven off by this foul odour. Now, unfortunately, people tend to think all snakes are poisonous, and therefore they want to dispatch them immediately, dead. But this is just one example of a totally harmless snake, which is very, very handy.
Listen, you say that those scales there help them go up the tree. Can all snakes go up trees, or only these types?
All snakes, to a degree, can climb, and they can climb well, and they can swim well. They're very well adapted. And the reason snakes haven't got legs is it's like a recessive step in evolution. They've lost their legs to enable them to go through and around the things they live in, whereas having legs might tend to be a hindrance. These have actually developed later than our other reptiles.
So they're harmless and they're no worries?
Harmless and no worries, and you often find them turning up in the ceilings in people's houses and things. They are arboreal, which means they like to live in trees, heights. And, well, even here at home, I have them in and around the roof, and they don't bother me. I don't worry them.
I suppose that's a good way to look at it.
Pity more people didn't. It'd save a lot of useless slaughter.
The next day,
Get him, mate.
Yeah. Beautiful too.
Oh, boy. That's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a member of the family of kangaroos, which are the smallest in Australia, the rat kangaroos. We've got quite a few of them. We've got the potteroo and the muskrat kangaroo. This little one's known as a rufous rat kangaroo. It's a beautiful little thing, isn't it?
I wouldn't have called him a rat.
How are you?
Yeah, it's got a lovely little face and everything else. Now, the thing with these little guys that make them a little different is they actually build nests for themselves. And when they're building their nest, they wrap it up in the end of their tail. Like they actually curl it up and carry the bits and pieces they're using for building their nest wrapped inside the circle of their tail. And they like to live in like low vegetation areas and sclerophyll sort of scrub where they can get themselves afforded a little bit of protection.
Now tell me this, do they sort of have the same attributes as a kangaroo, that they can bound or anything like that?
Yeah, they hop along and everything else. They've got the little short forearms, you can see there.
Yeah.
But this rufusy sort of fur.
They carry the young in the pouch?
Carry their young in a pouch, everything typical of a marsupial. Now the other little one we've got, called, one of the other ones is a potteroo.
Yeah.
And they're omnivorous, which means they don't only eat vegetable and herbs and things, they will actually eat meat.
Yeah?
Yeah, and when they get together in captivity, the males fight really badly. They don't like to be with each other, which suggests that in the wilds, perhaps they stay separate. Perhaps one male may have a series of females, because although those found in the wild don't necessarily suffer with scars and things, which maybe points to the fact that they do avoid each other.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really a beautiful little animal.
hold?
Just be careful. Hold its back legs there,
Yeah, so it doesn't...
so it doesn't start...
now I think I might give it back to you.
Right, there you go. Now, isn't that a beautiful... See the longer claws it has there than what you'd expect in a kangaroo on its front foot. But these are found up through New South Wales on the coast here, in and around even rainforest, or what we call rainforest areas where they like to be protected, up into southern Queensland. Look at that.
Absolutely beautiful. Well, nobody could ever call you a rat again, sweetheart.
I think I might let it bound away.
Righto. I'll get the car started. It's a cute little bear, isn't it?
Well, actually, they're not a bear.
They're not?
No. We give them the name koala bear because they look sort of bear-like in their features, but actually it's a very highly specialised marsupial. Very highly specialised. Totally arboreal, which of course means that they are tree dwellers, and highly specialised for what they eat. That is in the form of all the gums and things they eat, like various gum trees which they really love. And they eat about, a kilo of leaves a day, a full-grown koala bear, which is a fair amount.
I'll go and get half a kilo here for them.
Yeah, Steve should take some. What's wrong?
Might calm her down a bit. Want some gum leaf? How would you like that? Come on.
You want to take some?
Yes, now she's away. She likes that.
Yeah. Now, you can imagine to try and digest something like a gum leaf, you can see how strong and tough they are. They'd have to have a very good digestive system. And it brings to a point that at a certain time in the young koala's life, the mother koala feeds it on her own droppings. It feeds it on facial feeding, it's called.
How pleasant.
And this somehow introduces a certain bacteria to the stomach of the koala, which helps it break down the food that it eats. So that's a very specialised thing in itself, the fact that they can do that to help them do it. A lot of people think that they only eat, 4 or 5 types of gum, but they will, in fact, eat whatever gum's available to them. There are certain times when they change diet. This is one of the few times when they decide to come to ground and cross the ground. And one tree, for example, the manna gum, at a certain time through the year, the new leaves on the manna gum produce a lot of prussic acid, which would be poisonous for the koala, and at that time it realises it and goes on to another type of gum.
So it doesn't eat that tree?
Yeah, if it's been feeding on the manna gum.
Listen, you say they're a marsupial. Have they got a pouch like a kangaroo?
Yeah, they do have a pouch, which all marsupials have, but they're more closely related to the wombat than the kangaroos. Even though it's not a close relationship, they are more closely related to them. And even to the extent where their pouch goes backwards like the wombat. It makes sense in the case of a wombat because they're a digging, burrowing animal, and any young one in the pouch would be disturbed with dirt falling in it. So
well,
it
I
goes
suppose
in.
if the koala's going to shoot up a tree, there could be stuff going in there too.
Yeah, that's true. There could be bark and things, yet the possums that also live in trees have the pouch going the normal way. But maybe the koala, when it goes up, sticks a little closer to the tree.
Yeah, vertically.
You can see how well adapted they are for tree climbing. They're very quick up a tree with these big claws they have. And also they've got the typical little comb on the back foot with the 2 claws together for preening. And you're beautiful, aren't you?
They've got beautiful fur.
Yeah.
Delightful to touch.
People thought they had beautiful fur too, and of course that led to many, many thousands of them being killed and the fur being exported overseas for people to wear on themselves. Of course it looks a lot better on the koala. And actually it was the act of an American president that helped stop the predation on koalas by human beings because he stopped importing it to America, which was a fair market. Now, of course, they're a totally protected animal, and you can't go taking the fur off them, etc., which is a very good thing. Many, many years, they only occur sort of on the east coast now, but many, many years ago, way, way back, they actually used to occur in Western Australia in a certain spot, and they don't occur there any longer, and there's no real explanation as to why they have died off.
Talking about legends and things, is there any truth in the story that they eat dirt?
Yeah, well, originally it was thought to be a bit of a wise tale because you hear a lot of funny things like that. But since that time, people have discovered that they do eat dirt. Now, maybe this also helps introduce some sort of bacteria to them for breaking down food, but it also introduces a certain fungal disease which ends up by terminating the koala's life, and it can be also picked up by human beings. But people rarely get a chance to handle a koala anyhow, so they're lucky in that way.
Why don't we put this little fella back on the tree here and get out of here before we get eaten alive by these mosquitoes?
Okay, come along. Yeah, I was a little bit worried for a while. It got rather close to the old shack up there, which concerned me a bit. It's an interesting method that's used by nature as far as bushfires go with our Australian eucalyptus, our gum trees. The leaf itself holds quite a deal of oil. It's an oily leaf, so the fire burns through very, very quickly. If you look around, just around here, you can see that there's been very little permanent damage to the tree apart from the bark being blackened. There's a lot of regeneration starting to happen with the leaves already.
Or is it coming back again?
That's right. If it was rather slow burning, it would give it time for the ignition temperature of the actual wood to catch fire, and you'd lose trees.
So it explodes and then moves along.
Yeah, basically that's the way it works, yeah. But when our early settlers first came to Australia, they thought, oh, the animals are all so strange here. Things like kangaroos and echidnas and an animal with a beak like a duck, our platypus and things. They even wrote back and said, even the leaves out here hang edge on, which you don't have in England. And the reason that the gum leaf hangs edge on is common sense, because nature's placed it here in this hot, dry country. And plants lose a lot of moisture through their leaves. So it hangs edge on for the hottest parts of the day when the sun's on its edge. And that way, it's losing less moisture. So
Not exposing its whole leaf to the sun. Yeah.
That's right. It's just ordinary good common sense. But the name eucalyptus comes from a Greek word, actually. And it's EU, meaning well, and kalyptos, meaning covered. So you have the word well covered, which they are.
Do they actually make the eucalyptus that you put on your chest when you've got a cold out of these trees?
Yes, they make certain products out of the leaf of our eucalyptus trees. We call them gum trees because when they suffer a scar, you'll see a scar in some trees. There's that gummy like sap, resin sap comes out, and that's where we pick up the name gum.
Something incredible about the gum tree is that it's synonymous with Australia, and yet if you drive around Southern California down around Orange County, you see all these gum trees there that they imported to
That's right, they've
the
been
orange
imported.
trees.
They're indigenous to Australia and a few islands, often around Australia. But they've moved them out. They're very, very important. They help stop erosion. You'll see people, they go and buy some property, clear every tree in sight, and wonder why the dirt's all falling away and leaving them every time it rains or there's a wind. Because people are basically very silly when they do these things.
Stupid.
Luckily nowadays people are starting to realise also, of course, they provide shelter for our animals, food, and even when the leaves drop off on the ground here, they supply cover and camouflage.
Mould. Very good for you.
Plus mould and things, yeah.
Do you know that there's an annual gum leaf playing contest? My grandfather used to play the gum leaf. And
It's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, well, I've been practising on it. Any requests?
How about Beethoven's Fifth?
I haven't learnt that quite yet. I do Rachmaninoff, but how about Waltzing Matilda?
Okay,
You ready for this?
Yeah. Come on up. Come on.
Hang on, I'll get in a minute.
That's heaps. That's terrific. Come on.
I'll try.
Very, very
At least I try.
You're excellent.
I'm going into the championship next year.
Yeah. Keep practice.
Playing the harmonica.
Keep practice.
Oh, class, that's your trouble.
There's nothing quite like a swim in a cool pond to wash the dust of the day off your body.
There's no leeches in here, my boy. That's not the leeches you've got to worry about. It's the eels and the boreals. Freezing. Oh, it gets the dirt off, though. I want my baby. I want my heart. Where'd you get a bath this big anywhere else? Soap? Don't pollute the creek, mate. Look at this. It's running. It's perfect. Big dog paddle.
Hey, two top kids. I didn't really expect you to wash the whole car by yourselves.
Oh, that's okay. As long as Dad doesn't see us.
Why?
Should have washed these 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, we better get out of here then, hadn't we? What's our shout your cold drink?
Great! I'm as dry as a frog out of water.
But you're prettier than a cane toad.
A cane toad?
So the truckie said to the cabbie, now we can all get some sleep.
Look at this big...
What? Oh, now that's what I call a frog. Reminds me of the boss, only a shade more handsome.
What is it? Boss or him? It's not a frog, actually. It's a bit of a scourge, really, these things.
What is it?
It's a introduced cane toad.
I could tell by the tone of your voice that it had to be introduced.
Yeah, it's introduced. It's just another one of our...
Now, just a minute. The cane toad, what are you handling them for? Aren't they poisonous?
They do have a venom, yeah, but it's in these poison sacs on their back here. And it's another one of those introductions that's been a total failure.
Why is it?
Which they all are. Well, what happened was, these things originally come from South America, the cane toad, or Bufo marinus if you prefer. And they were taken to Hawaii where they aren't such a bad pest. Then some brilliant person decided it would be very handy to bring them from Hawaii to Australia to help control the cane beetle,
Right.
which we get up in through Queensland, where they actually grow the cane. Now, the cane toad didn't necessarily do much to help control the cane beetle, but it did do a lot in the way of destroying a lot of native Australian animals.
Why,
Yeah.
does it eat them or what?
Well, it does eat them, yes. They even eat small snakes and things, because they grow a lot bigger than this chap here is. They grow, say about so high.
Really?
Which is pretty big, and they live for years and years, and they breed excellently. And the thing is, they haven't got a real predator in this country.
You can understand that. I mean, he's got a bad acne problem there, hasn't he? He wouldn't want to eat him.
Yeah, they are they're an ugly, ugly animal, really. But the reason it hasn't got a predator is that these venomous sacs here, these poison sacs, if I squeeze one, you watch and see what happens. See that? You can actually see it coming out.
Oh, dear.
See that?
Yeah.
Well, that is very, very deadly to anything that eats it. Now, an animal coming along, let's say even our snakes, which a lot of snakes eat a lot of frogs, coming along and eating this would soon die because of that poison.
Is that deadly?
Yeah. Also, if this dies, if the cane toad dies and its body rots and it then gets into water systems and watercourses, that venom continues to be as strong and toxic as it goes through the watercourse. Now, this will kill the other animals in the watercourse with the exception of the cane toad's own tadpoles. So once again, the cane toad's saved from it all and something else suffers.
Would man die from it too if he drank that water?
Yes, there is one-sided case of a family who I think maybe of European origin who ate cane toad because you do get edible frogs throughout Europe and died from eating them.
Aren't they good for anything?
Well, believe it or not, there's a market at the moment for their skins. How long this is going to continue, I don't know.
What do they do with their skins?
They're skinning the cane toad and making wallets, etc., from the key cases and things like this from cane toad skin. Now, it would be an extremely unpleasant job, I think, skinning cane toads anyhow. But they spread so quickly, and originally they're only up around in North Queensland, around the cane fields, etc. But now they're coming further and further south, and at the moment they're down as far south in New South Wales as around about Coffs Harbour.
So what you're saying is that they're heading south in leaps and bounds.
You invited yourself up here, remember?
I'm leaving!
We'll take this and get rid of it. Righto.
Gee, I'd never even heard of cane toads.
Tall tales but true from our legendary past, Craig. Here, take this back and give it to your dad.
Okay.
Big Slider, if they're not here in the first place, they're not meant to be here.
That's right, Lisa.
But at least people seem to realise their mistakes.
Yeah, granted, but sometimes, in some cases, 100 years too late.
School excursions are fun and very interesting, no matter what the subject. But remember, on those nature excursions, replace the logs and the rocks that you move. Leave the environment as it was. Don't destroy an animal's home. They leave yours alone. We'll see you next time.
We're gonna leave the car and hit the track. Don't care if we never get back. Gonna leave the crowded city far behind. We're gonna breathe the air and touch the trees. Living easy, moving free. We're beating round the bush. Beating around the bush, you and me. Beating around the bush, we wanna be. Beating around the bush, beats it all. Beating, yeah, we're beating round